Hi, Freedom Queen, and welcome back to the podcast. So, this summer, inside of the podcast challenge, all we're talking about is you getting hyper visible and leveraging your voice to build relationships with people. And so, that's what I want to talk with you about today. Your podcast serves as a passive nurturing platform for your upper tier programs. What do I mean by that? A lot of times when people are nurturing, when you're nurturing your audience, you think it's like, oh, you have to go live every day, or you need to have really long conversations with people in the DMs, or even get on sales calls with people, or just calls in general. But our podcast has been something that has made us the most money behind the scenes. And I've actually never done a training like this on it. So you're tapping into gold inside of our podcast in July in Freedom Queen. So I want to talk with you about intimate behind the scenes stories that you can tell to your audience that will really build the relationship with them for you. So for example, this morning I ran our Buck Wild 2-day free event. And the reason I did this event is because I wanted to show people what it actually looks like behind the scenes for a multi-million-dollar business owner when they're going buck wild. And it was really interesting because I went and pulled back. I would say the turning point in my business where I really went all in, I pulled back from that point on how my business has skyrocketed and how I've had to do that every couple of months, like recommit, redecide that I'm 100% invested in the next level vision as I've grown. And it was so cool doing this event. I've never done one like this before. I usually do like how I've made this amount of money, or I teach a strategy thing. And so it was really fun to just teach, here's what it means to be buck wild. And I woke up at 5 a.m. I ran the free training at 6, which was 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or the New York time zone. And it was just incredible. And then at the end, I sold Freedom Queen Live, and people bought that, and people are still buying after the event. And we have day 2 tomorrow. And so, it's like, I personally feel like, and I shared this on the masterclass, I feel like right now is a time for great change in the world. I mean, this from like a world standpoint, I'm super in tune to energies and frequencies. I'm a very intuitive person mixed with strategy and go for it energy. But my more like feminine intuitive side is telling me that this time right now is a really big expansion period for a lot of people. And I personally feel like I'm shifting into the biggest level of being a business owner that I ever have. And I know I've predicted things like this in the past, and I've always been right about them, and I feel that again right now. But this one feels, it feels like a level of expansion that I didn't even know was possible. And I'm shifting really quickly, like massive expansion. In the month of June, we signed on 300 brand new clients to Freedom Queen. I flew around the world. It was my birthday. We just have been exploding across the board. And I am sharing this with you because I feel like so many of you are also experiencing this right now, where it's this call to adventure is what you're really feeling. Like you could go so much bigger right now. You could be making more money. And it's not that you need to be doing something differently, but maybe you're just like shedding a layer or like kind of like you're letting go of an old skin, an old identity, and you're stepping into this next level of you. And that's what it feels like for me. I've gone through big identity shifts in the past, and that's led me to double, triple my income. And this one feels like it's like a 10xing of income. That's actually how it feels. Like, okay, I'm going to go from 200K months, 100K months to $1 million months, $2 million months. Like, why not? So that's what I feel like is happening right now inside of Freedom Queen. And so I'm sharing this with you because these are the types of stories that I would share on your own podcast, behind the scenes. All I did was just go right into storytelling, talking about launching the Buck Wild event, talking about what's going on in my life, sharing revelations, sharing things that you're up to inside of your business, sharing ahas that you're having, client wins, talking about recent, I said this one, but revelations, reflections, things that you're having ahas on and going, oh my gosh, like I'm shifting and changing, or whatever that is, but sharing it in a really authentic way. What this does is it creates a deeper connection with you and your dream customers that you know you want to serve. Also, by the way, I'm doing this audio from the pool right now. I'm in my bathing suit in the pool. It creates a deeper connection between you guys because it goes beyond just come to my podcast, learn something, listen to it, and then see you in the next one. It creates a relationship where people feel like they know you more than, let's say, an Instagram Live or more than a sales call, because typically inside of a podcast, they're like little pieces of gold. If you listen to the business coaching podcast, I share a lot more things than I share on social media, because the reality is in our podcast, we can only bring on, not on our podcast, on an Instagram post in one square, I can only bring out like a certain amount of information. But in a podcast, I can share 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 3 hours worth of real raw material than I can on an Instagram post. And that's what makes them more valuable. And that's what builds a deeper connection. And so what I want you to do is I want you to start drafting some lessons that are less educational, that are less like, hey, I'm going to teach you this thing, like less I'm going to teach you how to balance your hormones, or I'm going to teach you how to get pregnant, or less I'm going to teach you how to balance your checkbook, and more podcasts that are bringing people into your brand through pulling back the curtain and telling them these little stories that nurture them of like, what are you up to with your clients right now? What's a big realization you've had about whatever it is that you teach on breastfeeding and motherhood, on relationships with your partner, on how you've been seeing the world and the economy. If you're in finance, that's a great one. On recent realizations you've had about mindset. What this does again is it builds the connection with your audience, but it also lets your people know that you are relevant. I call these current stories. When I'm teaching content framework, I do 3 different types of stories: offer story, current story, and origin story. And these current stories are keeping you relevant. They're keeping your audience excited to learn from you. They're ready to study from you, and they're just more invested in your brand. And that's what's going to make a buyer come in and be such a great client for you, is when they understand you. And this is true know, like, and trust. This is like they actually know, like, and trust you and know your brand. They're going to be the best client for you. You're not going to run into weird like boundary issues, or they're not going to be upset with your contracts, or maybe you coach in a really unique way because you've shared a more holistic view of who you are as a coach and mentor just through your podcast episodes. They're going to feel like they really know you. And that's been my experience, especially for close proximity clients, like people that come into the headquarters, the mastermind, private coaching. They're the best clients that have come through the podcast because they know me already. So they know what to expect, and they get the best results because they already decided on their own that they're the best fit for working with me. We've had so many people come from our TikTok, which is our lead generation platform, and I'll talk more about that as we go on this summer. But TikTok, to listen to the podcast, to join our Freedom Queen membership, to come right into the headquarters program without me even doing anything. And they're the best clients and they get the best results simply because the podcast did the work to nurture the relationship with them. And so I want you to think, what are some stories? What are some recent current stories or revelations that you've had that you can make podcast episodes on and create them and then send them out to your community? Okay, I will see you in the next one. Go create some content around behind the scenes, relationship building, realizations you've had, ahas, and then as a reminder, this is the podcast challenge happening in the month of July. So every single Friday, I select a new winner, and the prizes get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so every single time you share an episode to your Instagram stories and tag me, we will reshare it to ours, and you'll get entered to win one of the prizes on a Friday. And then at the end of the month, we'll go through and tally every single person that shared something to their Instagram story, and you'll get to select it to win the biggest prize ever. Okay, Freedom Queen, I will see you in the next one, and I can't wait to see you get your podcast up and running.